Hi, my name is Sarah Utterback, and this is my CAA Historical Timeline. Today we will be talking about different laws and court cases that have affected bilingual education. We will be going over Mayer v. Nebraska, Farrington v. Tagosi, Brown v. Board of Education, Civil Rights Act of 1964, Elementary and Secondary Education Act, Bilingual Education Act, Title VIII of 1968, Lau v. Nicholas, Equal Opportunities Act of 1974, Castanina v. Picard, No Child Left Behind Act, and Every Student Succeeds Act. Mayer v. the State of Nebraska was a case about when Nebraska passed a law that said teachers in grade schools cannot teach any language except for English. Mayer was a German teacher in Nebraska. Nebraska's laws were found to be unconstitutional because of due process clause of the 14th Amendment. Farrington v. Tagosi was when English became the official language in Hawaii. It came with a lot of strict laws, such as students can only have 1 hour and no more language instruction. And these cases both connected with parents having a say in their kids' education. Brown v. Board of Education. This case had to do with equal education opportunities, and it got policymakers and lawmakers to look into the educational system. This case was about how separate but equal was not actually equal, and segregated schools were unconstitutional. This was also a huge case in the civil rights movement. The Civil Rights Act of 1964. This act banned discrimination based on race, sexual, or national orientation. It opened the door for students and parents to speak up for their rights in receiving a great education and not be treated differently because of their race or culture. The Elementary and Secondary Act was a part of President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty. It targeted students from low-income families. It provided extra resources and funding for students so everyone could receive a quality education. This law included professional development, resources to support educational programs, and promoted parent involvement in their kids' education. The Bilingual Education Act of 1968. This act provided grants to schools to help with bilingual education. It focused on students learning English. It created the term LESA, or Children of Limited English Speaking Ability. It also brought bilingual education into the eye of the public. Lau v. Nicholas. This case happened when California schools became integrated. Many Chinese students who were not proficient in English were thrown into English-only speaking schools without any supplemental instruction on how to speak English. This case brought about the term sink or swim because the kids were thrown in without any help. Lau and other students brought this issue to the court, proclaiming that schools were not providing equal access to education, and this was a violation of the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act. The courts ruled in favor of Lau. The Equal Opportunities Act of 1974. This act prohibited discrimination in schools. This included students being transferred to other schools to increase segregation. This act was all about overcoming barriers so that students can have equal participation in the classroom. This act also brought the term appropriate action, which talks about the action that schools need to take to help students learn. Casteda versus Picard. This case was the Mexican American students in Texas versus the Texas school district. Parents of the children were concerned that the classes were segregated based on a random grouping system. At first, the courts sided with the district, but then the case was appealed in 1981 and it favored the students. This led to the creation of the three-pronged test for bilingual education, and the three-pronged test includes the way to evaluate LSP programs. It must be on sound educational theory. It must be implemented effectively with adequate resources and personnel. After a time period, it must be evaluated as effective in overcoming language handicaps. The No Child Left Behind Act brought about major changes to the curriculum of primary and secondary schools. It involved yearly tests. Bilingual students were required to take these tests no matter how well they understood the English language. Schools were required to make English language proficiency standards and annual tests for ELL students to take at all grade levels. This act left a lot of children behind, including many ELL students. Every Student Succeeds Act. It replaced the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001. It still kept standardized testing between 3rd to 8th grade. It was more flexible on ADL students, and it required school to track the progress of ELL students. And it also moved control of the education system from federal government to state governments. It also increased accountability on school programs, especially with EDL, based on these indicators: ELL students' performance on annual tests, ELL progress in achieving /achievement, proficiency, graduation rates, measurement of student growth. This act also introduced the entrance and exit procedures for ELL programs. Thank you for watching. And here is my reference page.